Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I hope you're ready for story time. I'm going to be reading from the Hands-On Bible again, and I'm reading the story of the Last Supper from Mark chapter 14. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to go to prepare the Passover meal for you?" So Jesus sent two of them into Jerusalem with these instructions. As you go into the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him. At the house he enters, say to the owner, "The teacher asks, 'Where is the guest room where I can eat the Passover meal with my disciples?' He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare our meal." So the two disciples went into the city and found everything just as Jesus had said, and they prepared the Passover meal there. In the evening, Jesus arrived with the 12. As they were at the table eating, Jesus said, "I tell you the truth, one of you eating with me here will betray me." Greatly distressed, each one asked in turn, "Am I the one?" He replied, "It is one of you 12 who is eating from this bowl with me. For the Son of Man must die, as the scriptures declared long ago, but how terrible it will be for the one who betrays him. It will be far better for that man if he had never been born." As they were eating, Jesus took some bread and blessed it, and he broke it into pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take it, for this is my body." And he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. He gave it to them, and they all drank from it, and he said to them, "This is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice for many. I tell you the truth, I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new in the kingdom of God." Then they sang a hymn and went out into the Mount of Olives. The next story I'm reading tonight is Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little rabbit who always wore a bright red cloak with her hood. Her name was Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood and her mother packed a basket full of good things to eat. They filled it with her grandmother's favorite foods like fresh-picked carrots, orange blossom honey, and homemade breads and tarts. "Please take this basket straight to your grandmother's house," her mother said. Little Red Riding Hood nodded her head as her mother helped her put on the red cloak. Her mother tied a beautiful bow under her chin as only she could do, then with a kiss on the forehead, her mother sent Little Red Riding Hood off through the woods to grandmother's house. Little Red Riding Hood hadn't gone far when a wolf leaped out from the trees. "Where are you going?" he asked. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers," said Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf looked at her basket. "A picnic?" he asked. "It's not a picnic," said Little Red Riding Hood as she held the basket close. "It's a basket from my grandmother. Now please excuse me so I can take it to her." The wolf sniffed the basket. "No flowers? I would never visit my grandmother without a big bunch of flowers. Perhaps you should stop and pick some. You wouldn't want to let her down." Little Red Riding Hood thought that was a good idea. She picked buttercups and daisies while the wolf ran down the path toward her grandmother's house. Grandmother was rocking in her favorite rocker, mending her favorite apron. She hummed a little tune as she worked, so she didn't hear the door creak open. Grandmother also paid careful attention to her needlework, so she didn't see a big, hairy wolf sneak into the house and into the closet. "Grr," snarled the wolf as he sprang from the closet. "Oh my," cried Grandmother. "You look tasty," said the wolf. Grandmother jumped up from her chair and knocked over the table. She ran out of that house as fast as she could. The wolf looked through Grandmother's closet and found a nightcap, gown, and some glasses. He put them on, leaped into bed, and pulled the covers up over his nose. Little Red Riding Hood arrived a few minutes later. "Grandmother, are you home?" she called from the door. "In here, my little dumpling," said the wolf softly. Little Red Riding Hood hurried inside. "Grandmother, what big ears you have," she said. "All the better to hear you with," said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood thought her grandmother sounded funny. She leaned in a little closer to hear her better when she saw the eyes. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with," said the wolf. Then the wolf slowly pulled down the covers from his face. "But Grandmother," said Little Red Riding Hood, "what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with," growled the wolf as he jumped off the bed. "You're not my grandmother," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Why, you're the big bad wolf from the forest. What have you done with my grandmother?" The wolf chuckled. "You'll never find out," he said. "That's what you think," said someone behind them. Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf looked up. There was Grandmother, and she was standing in the doorway with a big, strong lumberjack. The wolf chuckled again. "One old lumberjack can't catch a quick and smart wolf like me." The wolf leaped toward the bedroom window, but he didn't get very far. Little Red Riding Hood grabbed the wolf's tail while Grandmother snatched up her nightcap and pulled it down over the wolf's eyes. The lumberjack picked up the wolf and carried him off to the bank of the river. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother followed close behind. The lumberjack set the wolf on a big log. He pushed the log into the water, and the wolf quickly sailed down the river. "He doesn't look so big in the middle of that wide river," said Grandmother. "He doesn't look so bad when he's so far away," said Little Red Riding Hood. "And he doesn't look like he'll be coming back any time soon," said the lumberjack as the wolf floated out of sight. With the wolf safely gone, everyone went back to the house and enjoyed the food in the basket. As Grandmother sipped some tea, she smiled at Little Red Riding Hood. "You are very brave, and I'm glad I'm your grandmother." The end. That's all for tonight, kids. I hope you all have a really good night, and I hope to see you all really soon. Good night.